This is Patchwork Heart Ministries Young Catholics Respond, brought to you by Viva Guadalupe. Now, here's your host, Bill Snyder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special episode of Young Catholics Respond here on Patchwork Heart Radio. I'm your host, Bill Snyder, and joining me is James Littleton. He is, first and foremost, a redeemed sinner, but he is a hope-filled international and inspirational speaker. He co-founded and is the co-director of Forming Faithful Families. He is a frequent guest on EWTN Radio and Television, and is the host of Forming Faithful Families Radio, which is heard on 170 stations nationally and globally, including Relevant Radio and Immaculate Heart Radio Network. James and his wife Kathleen are parents of 19 children, 14 living on Earth, ages 27 to 6. I'm so blessed to be joined by James today, so thank you so much for joining me today to talk about families.
It's nice to be on with you, Bill.
So as our listeners are aware, it is nearing Thanksgiving, and that is a time when many of us here in America really begin to hone in on this season of getting together with the people that we love. It kind of kicks off that family season in society. And so I want to kind of talk to you today because you have a lot of experience with family. 14 kids living on Earth here. You have a lot of experience with family. So talk to us a little bit about what it means to be a faithful family in today's society and culture.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that came to mind when I was thinking about this interview was maybe I could just share with you the 4 greatest gifts parents can give to their children. That might give a pretty good understanding in terms of an answer to your question. But certainly we have to love our children, but the question is, how do we love them as parents? How do we manifest our love in a concrete way? In this agape love, this pouring out sacrificial love, that's the Greek word for the highest form of love, agape. Agape love can be expressed concretely through the 4 greatest gifts parents can give to their children that my wife and I kind of put together here after some reflection. So would that be making star athletes out of our children, or would that be having them engaged in as many outside activities as possible at the cost of the family always being harried and busy and rushed and exhausted, having little time to enjoy family unity and peace? Are these the supreme gifts? No, they're not. So I assert that the first of the greatest gifts is to pass on the gift of faith to our children, the gift of faith in God and as Catholics, the Most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, to pass on our faith, to incorporate our faith integrally into our family life. Like for us, it's family prayer most nights, maybe 10, 15 minutes, a couple decades of the rosary, a little bit of scripture, a revision of the day, and examining our conscience and making a plan to live our life better going forward. And it's also for us, happens to be, and it's a great gift, a great grace that we've received. We try to revolve our entire life around the Eucharist. So ever since my conversion in 1991, my reversion, I started attending daily Mass, and not long after started bringing all my children. My wife wasn't ready at first because she was literally up all night for 20 years feeding babies, half the night. So, yeah. But eventually, she started going, and for many, many years, we've been attending daily Mass, and that's the greatest thing that we can do with our time as far as we're concerned. I've arranged my work, my business around that, so that there is time to go to Mass in the morning, and our children too. They go to a Catholic school, but they're allowed to come about 10 minutes late every day so that they can attend Mass with us, and then we get them to Mass. Now, everyone has to make their own determination what they're called to do and what they can do, but every time we can participate in Holy Mass, it's the greatest blessing we can receive. Do you want me to go on without you interjecting?
Well, no. I think, I mean, that was really insightful. And you certainly want to let you continue. This is not about me. It's about being able to let you enlighten us. But yeah, no, that's really insightful for our listeners. The Holy Mass, and just what a blessing that must be for your entire family, and honestly for that school to see the witness of your family. Maybe coming a little bit late. Hey, where was I? I wasn't off at some baseball practice or football practice. I was attending Mass, and what a countercultural statement that is. That's beautiful.
Yeah. But thanks be to God. Well, the second greatest gift we can give to our children, year-round, we can give this forever, is a secure, enduring, happy marriage between father and mother. And of course, today, marriage is under attack. There's so much confusion as to what marriage even is, but marriage is between one man and one woman, committed until death, open to life, open to the gift of life, and working to educate their children, first of all, in the faith, secondly, in academically and so on. So our children find a great sense of security in this gift. And that doesn't mean being perfect people, perfect marriage. It means, though, forgiving, enduring, loving, being joyful. And when the children find this sense of security in seeing this the secure marriage between husband and wife, they flourish more in virtually every aspect of their lives. So this calls for a commitment, a sacrificial, again, agape love on the part of the parents. We can do it. We can do it with God's help. Let's see, the third greatest gift that I'm going to be so bold as to share would be something that children actually ask for often. And when the gift is received, the entire family is incredibly joyful. They're transformed at the special occasion of the arrival of this magnificent gift for the family. And when this gift arrives, the family will never be the same. And this gift calls for faith. It calls for courage and generosity on the part of the parents, on the part of the givers. And this gift lasts for many decades, and it only gets better, changing, developing every day. This gift is unique and can never be repeated. But a similar gift can be added almost every year, and you probably guessed by now. But that gift would be being open to the profound gift of another child in the family, if God so blesses the family with that gift. And the parents are, of course, are still of health and age to be able to have another child. But what a great gift it is. And we live in a culture that does not value life, that is very, heavily into artificial contraception and sterilization, and those things, do not make our life better. They don't make our life better on earth. There's all sorts of consequences, negative consequences that come from that. But we're also focused on eternity. And I pray and I hope and I believe that, families that are open to life are God, Jesus is very pleased with them, especially since there's some degree of heroism called for in that way of life in this society that is where that's so countercultural. Most people, once they've had, 3, 4, 5 children, they start to get all the, judgments and the questions and, how can you have this many children? When are you going to stop? But, and our response has to just be sharing the joy and the great gift that children are. And then the fourth greatest gift is something very simple, but it's something that seems very challenging in this culture that we live in today. And that is the parents and the children, as an entire family unit, being present to one another, to slow down, to just be together. And no amount of money that we can give to our children, no amount of gifts, education, sports, activities will ever be able to substitute for the loving presence of the parents with their children. I think we need to have some downtime where, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to play a board game? You want to go out for a walk? You want to, play football, whatever. But to have some time together as a family, not just all these, not that, outside activities are bad in themselves, but we have to keep things balanced. And, it's very easy to fall into the trap of constantly running and chasing. And parents do that because they love their children. They think they're giving them, they want to give them the best. But, we can end up on a treadmill chasing after something that we thought was good for the family, but in fact is bringing disorder to the family.
Yeah, and we see that in culture so much today, even in religious ed programs. I know that in my own religious ed program, I see it so much. I mean, this one's off hunting, this one's off this weekend. I get a billion emails that say, these are the things that are, more important than slowing down, taking time, and recognizing that, the family is number one, the most important thing, and number two, that there needs to be some time to spend together. And as an adult, sibling now, myself, who lives 800 miles away from his other two siblings, and a few short miles away from my parents. But the idea is that, I'm listening to what you're saying because it gets increasingly more and more difficult, right? To do that. I mean, I'm going to go in for Thanksgiving here. I'm going to fly into Philadelphia for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to spend 48 hours, literally, with my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, and my extended family, and fly home. So, there's a craving for that, and I'll tell you, that's the best part of my Thanksgiving is spending it with my immediate family, and it goes in line with exactly what you're saying. It goes in line exactly what you're saying. That the best things in life aren't the amounts of money, aren't the number of baseball practices or football practices that one is going to attend. It's this unit, right? It's this family unit that is the primary church, right? As the Catechism says, it's the first church that the kid gets to know. So how beautiful. Jim, it's amazing how time flies. I want to, in the next 13 minutes, I want to talk to you about maybe some of the challenges that the family has today. And, when we get in large groups and we bring in different people into our circles, there can be some challenging situations that arise. And I definitely want to talk with you about that on the other side of the break. So we're talking with James Littleton here on Patchwork Heart Radio, right back after these messages.
For nearly 500 years, the people of Mexico have taken advantage of a promise made by the Queen of Heaven. In the year 1531, Our Lady appeared to a humble Aztec Indian and revealed herself to be the mother of the one true God. Telling Saint Juan Diego that she desired a temple to be built in her honor, she promised that she would help all those who appealed to her motherly love and protection. To seal this promise, our Blessed Mother left an image of herself that has been miraculously preserved and can be seen by all who visit the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. Our Lady is not a liar. For nearly 5 centuries, millions of people from throughout Mexico have made pilgrimages to the shrine, either seeking Our Lady's help or thanking her for a petition granted. Today, more than ever, she is ready to help you or any of her children who seek her assistance. To learn more about how you can visit this remarkable shrine and bring your own petitions to our Blessed Mother, please visit vivaguadalupe.org.
This is Martha Fernandez Sardina with your Love Minute. Are you married? Do you wish you were married? Do you know that marriage is a love relationship, a lifelong love relationship? It requires a lot of love giving. What your spouse needs the most, what your spouse deserves the most, is you. Time with you, your listening, your attentive listening, your heart, your love. Love requires you to open up and allow the other to enter in. Love is cultivated by spending time together. Love is cultivated every time you go on a date, when you pray together, when you make sure that the sun does not go down on your anger. Would you want to have a happy marriage in which you give love and get love? Learn how to love. Spending time with the beloved of our souls, Jesus Christ. Marriage is worth it. Work on it. Find more on love at facebook.com/rememberyouareloved. And remember, you are loved.
Now back to Young Catholics Respond. Once again, Bill Snyder.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back here on Patchwork Heart Radio's Young Catholics Respond. I'm your host, Bill Snyder. Today, my guest is the co-founder of Forming Faithful Families, James Littleton. He's also a speaker, life coach, spiritual guide, retreat and workshop presenter, just an amazing guy, and he has a lot of experience with forming faithful families, as the title of his ministry would highlight for you. The question I kind of left off the listeners with, James, at the beginning of or at the end of the last segment was, what do we do when challenges happen? A lot of us are getting ready to have Thanksgiving dinner. This is airing probably during people's Thanksgiving dinners right now,
Yeah.
and a lot of different mixes of people, right? I mean, I'm going to show up at a house and there's going to be, people who don't believe the same stuff that I believe, that are going to just be, some a little bit ornery, some a little bit funny. But how do you handle encountering family and extended family that doesn't maybe subscribe to the same values that you have?
Yeah. Well, that something just popped into my mind. Some years ago, we were at a family reunion, and somehow I ended up with all the young people, the young nieces and nephews around me. They're mostly teenagers and young adults, and they started asking me all sorts of questions about what I believed. And we got into things like the church's teaching on indissolubility of marriage and contraception and openness to life. Various things, homosexuality, practice of homosexuality, whether the fact that would be disordered and objectively sinful and so on. And they all just kind of smiled and humored me, but you could tell I wasn't breaking through. But I was sharing the truth calmly, joyfully with them, and hopefully planting some seeds. But what was really kind of even shocking to recognize is that a brainwashing has occurred with our young people, in society. If they've not been immersed in the faith, if they've not been formed in the faith, they basically have a strong belief in everything that is politically correct. And it's very hard to break through that. So what I try to do, I don't mind a good argument personally. And my nature would be to get into a fight about it, but I try to be calm, as my wife does as well. And we just, when the opportunity comes up, we share, the joy of our family. We share the joy of our faith, and people see it. I mean, I have one sister that came up to me and said, Jimmy, haven't always agreed with you and so on, but I have to admit, your children have turned out incredibly. And they have, by the grace of God. Somehow, for the most part, they've gotten through life without becoming casualties of the culture. They've all have their faith. They've all acquired advanced educations, which is kind of interesting because most people would say, well, how can you possibly, have enough love and education to go around for 14 children? Well, God has his ways. So all my children have master's degrees, who are that age, or except one who's mastering in having one child after another. God love her. And she's college educated. I've got another daughter pursuing her doctorate at Notre Dame in Catholic family and society, those sorts of studies, and she's going to make a great impact in the academic world from a Catholic standpoint, from a truth standpoint. But I think we have to not get into direct conflicts, but mostly influence others by our witness, by the witness of our lives. And none of us are perfect. I mean, that goes without saying, but people are going to see, hey, this family is different. They, I don't understand totally what they're about and their faith, but, I admire so many things about them. And that's good. I think that's a good seed to plant. And where I have the opportunity, I will share my faith. And I'm not always, that's not always welcomed as I just mentioned in the example that I shared.
Sure. No, and there's a difference between going into Thanksgiving dinner or a large family gathering like a reunion, going and picking a fight, with somebody that has different beliefs, and just quietly witnessing to the truth. And as you kind of highlighted in your example, even if you're not breaking through, you're still being faithful on your end. And being faithful on your end is a beautiful thing. Talking about, the way the Holy Spirit works through somebody, you never know, right? Can plant a seed and make them think about something for years to come. And so what a beautiful what a beautiful thing, what a beautiful blessing that it is to be able to just get together with family. And there's some joys, right? There's some joys in seeing people with different experiences. Maybe do you have any thoughts on that? Is it good for people to encounter resistance or see people living a different lifestyle? Bringing your family to certain events and things like that.
Well, we try to protect our children's innocence as long as we can in every way possible, in terms of exposure to media, exposure to things out in the world, and so on. But obviously, you can't protect them 100%. We all live in the world. We can't shield them 100%. But I think there is a great advantage to teaching our children to embrace challenges, to be critical thinkers, to hear something in the news or something someone else says, and to run it through their Catholic mind, their Catholic understanding, with the help of the Holy Spirit, and see, well, what I just heard here is not true, and here's the truth about this. So we try to have conversations of that nature. I may ask my children a question. I already know the answer, but I want to kind of have them work it out. And so we do have to raise children who are critical thinkers, not raised, strictly in a bubble, but are able to, discern through the many, bad examples and lies that we're going to encounter in our culture.
Yeah, you can't live in a bubble, and the more and more you try to live in the bubble, you find out how quickly it pops, right?
Yeah.
But I know that's wonderful. I want to make sure that I promote some of the wonderful work you're doing. As I mentioned at the front of the interview, you have a wonderful radio program, Forming Faithful Families Radio, which is now heard on 170 stations around the country and around the world, which is awesome. But you also have some books, and one of them that may be relevant for our topic today. I know that you have several, but the one that may be relevant for our listeners as they're talking about family is Better by the Dozen, which is a great name for the book. Can you talk with us a little bit about your book and also what you're working on currently in your ministry?
Sure. So we have Better by the Dozen +2 anecdotes and a philosophy of life from a family of 16. So that probably give you a pretty good idea what the book is about. But we share some of the wisdom that we've received by the grace of God through the process of raising 14 living children, and living our faith. And so our book unmasks many of the fundamental errors of our time. And we offer a hierarchy of values to live by, priorities to live by, in the midst of a dominant culture that can be very disordered. And then we have Better by the Dozen +2, Part 2, Lessons Learned Through Loss and Leukemia by a Family of 16. So this covers many of the crosses that we've encountered in our life, and the lessons we've learned, and how our faith has helped us through these. I was diagnosed with leukemia in 2009, and am a survivor by the grace of God through a stem cell and bone marrow transplant. And I wrote a book called Healed Through Cancer and Other Adversities. It was the foreword was written by Ambassador Michael Novak, great author and philosopher and theologian. And he passed away in, I think, the last year or so. God rest his soul. A wonderful man. But many of the lessons that I knew before, but were came to life in a new light in the midst of great suffering and, facing imminent death through so many different trials and hospitalizations and so on. So, and then we have programs available. We have a video series. We have a new program that we just updated. You can find it on our website under program Forming Faithful Families, small group programs. We incorporate a lot of media like my radio programs, our television programs. We did a series, Forming Faithful Families, with Shalom World Television in the last year or so. So a lot of good content there with formation on many different subjects. So there's a wealth of information available on our website, and my wife and I, as available, are available to come and speak to your group as well.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely wonderful. I want to make sure that I get the name of your website out there. What is the name of the website?
Forming Faithful Families. So formingfaithfulfamilies.com or .org. Both will get you to the same website. Awesome.
And when does your radio show? It's a weekly show, daily show?
Well, it's pre-recorded, and I think we have 77 episodes out there now, as well as vignettes. And these will be played on stations at whatever time they choose. It's an evergreen program, so it's not tied into a particular, date. So they can be run for years to come. So a list of the various stations are on our website, but you can also go on Podbean, Forming Faithful Families, and find all of our programs and listen to them at your leisure.
That's awesome. Yeah, much like this,
Yeah.
The new media revolution is taking over here.
It really is. I think the new media is great, and it's easy to get a voice out there, and we also link up with Stitcher, and that's accessed on many of the new car radios. So really happy to have at least some involvement in new media. I'm not an expert at it, but we're out there.
No, and that's so great. And Jim, I want to thank you for coming on today and talking with me and my listeners about this incredibly important topic of family, especially as we're getting into the holiday season and gearing up for it. So maybe revisit Jim's incredible words of wisdom. Purchase his books. He has so much to offer. His apostolate is amazing. So thank you so much, James, for coming on and being with me here today on Patchwork Heart Radio.
Bill, thanks for everything that you're doing, especially with young people.
Yeah, it's important to get it out there. So again, check out formingfaithfulfamilies.com or .org. For James Littleton, I'm Bill Snyder. Until next time, from all of us here at Patchwork Heart Ministry, keep beating to your Catholic heart.
This has been an episode of Young Catholics Respond. For more information about this program or Patchwork Heart Ministry, visit patchworkheart.org. That's patchworkheart.org. Or email info@patchworkheart.org. Do you want to keep your finger on the pulse of Patchwork Heart Ministry? Follow our monthly blog, Written on Our Hearts. Simply go to patchworkheartministry.blogspot.com and click subscribe, and follow the on-screen instructions. That's patchworkheartministry.blogspot.com, then click subscribe. Our Blessed Mother wants only the best for her children and has given us a special place where she promises to help all those who appeal to her motherly love and protection. Telling Saint Juan Diego that, "Here I will alleviate the sufferings of all those who love me and seek my protection." That holy place is now the site of the beautiful Shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City. If you would like to learn more about how you can visit this special place of grace, please visit vivaguadalupe.org for more information. Our Lady may be calling you now.